Welcome back into another episode of NA Now. I'm Brandon Hofstra, joined here with head coach of the New Jersey Titans, Craig Doremus. Craig, thanks for taking some time this nearing the end of the summer to do this with us.
I appreciate you guys having me on. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, let's take a look back at last season. You guys had that Robertson Cup hangover that we talked about previously coming into last season, but the second half of the year, you guys were on fire, hottest team in the league. Then the playoffs kind of ended abruptly with a first round exit. But talk about how you kind of judge it last season coming off that championship from the year before.
Yeah, I think you put it pretty well and fair. I mean, you have to look at yourself in the mirror at the end of every year, regardless of success or failures. And I think for us, unfortunately, like you said, we exemplified that championship hangover. We got off to a terrible start. I think we were 0-6 coming out of Blaine. I think at one point in the season we were 7-11. Before we really tried to figure it out, I think a lot of it was some tough conversations in terms of our staff and having a meeting and talking about where we were and where we wanted to go. And we made some really tough decisions. We got rid of a number of players who were part of the championship team, but everyone needed a wake up call at that point, and I think it worked. If you look at it, like you mentioned, second half of the year, and even from that 7-11 part, I find it hard to believe. I think we had done the math at the end, but I don't know if there was a team with a better record than us after that. But it took a lot of energy, it took a lot of effort. And then I think you see that come back to bite you in the butt when you go out weekly in the first round of the playoffs. Now, full credit to Maine and Coach Pinch. I thought they did a great job and they really jumped on us and they did dominate. They deserved to win. But for us, it was a culmination of putting a lot of effort into the regular season and then getting to that point. And unfortunately for us, it's part of it. We sustained injuries to three of our top six forwards and we weren't able to overcome it. Just we didn't have the depth to match what Maine was. And you could see that they wanted to beat us. There was an extra effort for their level and full credit to their players and their staff. They did a great job of completely dominating us.
Yeah, that East Division continues to expand now with the addition of Rochester, New Hampshire. You've been around this league since the beginning. What can you say about the growth of the East Division over the last 10 years?
Yeah, I think it's extremely impressive. I mean, I got in at not at the very start of it. I entered year two of the Eastern Division. And I was here when it's been as, four teams and you were playing Joe Coombs 14 times. And I think at one point we played them 7 in a row. So that was the wars of the regular season. And then to see it expand like it has now, I think it's not only a compliment to the Eastern Division, but the league as a whole in terms of the roster procurement, the players we're able to identify and solicit to our league, an extreme investment by the ownership groups throughout. To kind of take that leap of faith and come out to the East where kind of in the past it was a little bit taboo and nobody wanted to touch it. But I think the league has benefited from it. You see how many kids come from Eastern Division clubs that commit Division One and are very successful in our league. And whether they advanced in junior hockey or in college hockey, they're really good hockey players and impressive staffs and buildings and ownership groups as well. That's the one thing I've tried to really embrace and take in as we've gone through the expansion on the East is meeting all these other great, brilliant people who are involved, yes, as competitors, but more as partners, right? And working with them and seeing what they offer to our league and how proud they are to be part of the league. They've done a great job, and it's so exciting to be part of and see it. And even now with Rochester, New Hampshire coming into the division, I know people from both organizations, and I'm excited to go up there and play and get that different exposure and experience for our players. But I'm excited to work with other good partners who are eager to help our league get to where I think it can.
Yeah. Craig, you guys are fantastic at moving players onto the next level, advancing them obviously to college hockey as well. But now you got to replace those guys. What were you looking at during the draft and with your tenders and all that coming into this season to fill those holes?
I think for us, just again, reflection. I think you need at the end of the year to have those hard conversations, look at yourself in the mirror and say, all right, what do we need to do better? What can we continue to strive in? Our player procurement, scouting, recruiting, identifying players starts with Gary Biggs and Kyle Shapiro. They kind of drive the bus for us on our end. And I think both guys did an excellent job, not only this past year. We don't have a Robertson Cup without those two guys and the work they've done in the past. I think this year they took it personal with how we struggled this year, and they made it a point to make sure that wasn't going to be the case moving forward again. And you saw it at main camp. It was kind of a proud papa moment for them to see all the talent they had on the ice. And I think they've done a really good job of assembling a very, very impressive roster for us here as we move forward. And main camp was super competitive. And there were some areas we know we needed to address. We wanted to get a little bit more depth down the center position. We struggled there last year. We wanted to add some size, which we did. I think this will be our biggest team we've had yet. So again, they addressed some of the areas that we felt, but the puck's going to drop here in September, and everyone has a plan until you get punched in the face. So we'll see how it goes.
Right, definitely. Who are some of these veteran players that you guys are expecting to see back and make a big jump in production and in leadership for you?
Yeah, I think you start with Dom Bartechko. Dom was a kid we acquired last year in an early season deal with Amarillo and came in and really acclimated himself well to our community and our hockey team and was a huge producer for us throughout the year as well. And Dom comes in here as an extremely motivated, uncommitted 20-year-old. So I think he's poised for a big year. Johnny McMahon returns for his second season with our club. He really didn't have much of a rookie year. I think he played 20 or 22 games, like less than half a season with injury. So I think he's excited and eager to move into year two. Leo Schwartz returns as a veteran defenseman for us, right shot defenseman. I think he's poised to have a big year, and Brian Robertson well on the right side returns for us. You know, in terms of we added Simone Bakar from the Corpus Christi Ice Rays in the offseason for a deal, and we gave up a pretty package for him, but we think it's worth the squeeze there. He's committed to the University of Maine's, played World Juniors, and we think he could be a really big part of our group on the blue line. And we're a little bit green back there and young and inexperienced, so I think it's important that we have the right veteran presence there to kind of steer the ship and navigate the waters, because it's not always going to be smooth, right? There's going to be the peaks and valleys, and those veterans are so valuable during those times.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We said it earlier how the East is expanding, and over the last 6 seasons, there have been 6 different representatives for the division at the Robertson Cup. Talk about how competitive that division is just year after year. Now adding 2 more.
Yeah, listen, I hope we break the trend, right? Because if not, it could be a while before we get back there. But yeah, it's something that we've tracked and obviously laughed about within our own room. It's like everyone gets a turn, but no, it's going to be super competitive. You look at what you'd be naive not to look at what Rochester's done in the offseason and identifying not only a good player pool, but an impressive staff, right? New Hampshire comes in eager, a lot of good hockey minds up there. They've done a good job with their player procurement. Like, you know, the streets talk. So you know what players are going to what camps and kind of where they're going to end. And you start to see how the rosters are going to begin to be constructed. And again, you know, I know people at the management levels at both. So I think both teams have a lot of pride. I don't think they're here to just participate in year one and be a quote unquote expansion team. I think they're both driven to get to the playoffs and make a run at the Robertson Cup and kind of arrive and put some emphasis on their arrival to the North American League. So I'm excited to have them. I think for us, it's worked out. I think we're only going to play each of those clubs once at home and once on the road. So we're not going to see them as much. But nevertheless, it'll be fun for us to play different opponents and change it up a bit. And I think with some, you know, the playoff format and all that jazz, it'll be an exciting year with some new twists and turns.
Yeah. The Super Bowl, we'll call it, of junior hockey is coming up with the NAHL showcase. Aside from trying to win 4 games and get your season going off to a good start, you're also trying to help your guys get to the next level, get exposure from all the scouts being there. But what does this event look like from your perspective?
It's so unique when you talk about it, and you know I laugh a little bit because I spoke about it literally yesterday with the staff.
Yeah.
You come into it and you realize how competitive the college recruiting and placement has become. And you mentioned at the start of the interview, I think we take a lot of pride in the success we've had helping kids achieve those dreams over our first few years here in New Jersey. But it's getting more competitive, and you know there are more qualified players who want those limited, finite spots at that level. So it's important for them to get off to a good start, right? And it's important, like you said, last year we started 0-6, and you know I laugh about it retrospectively, and this is with no disrespect to Maryland or the year they had. If we don't get off to a terrible start, we probably end up having a better regular season than we did the year we won the Robertson Cup.
Right.
That you look back to the start, and that's really where we came up short. So you want to make sure you get off to a better start there. And I think the better the team looks on that platform, the better the individual players look. Like, you know, we've kind of always had the old adage, a rising tide lifts all boats. And for us, we didn't get there last year. We didn't look good, which means as a team, we didn't look good to their eyes. And we probably weren't very exciting or enticing to go see shortly thereafter, being a last place team at 0-6. So you got to be realistic in terms of when you're advocating for your players and calling colleges. They don't want to come see a team that can't win in the North American League. They want to see a team that's able to enforce their will and what they want to do and how they want to play tactically on their opponents. And that's probably a credit to the individuals who are doing so on a day-to-day basis. So for us, it's something we're going to talk about. You know, it's unique. You talk about today's players and the generation, like mental toughness is probably something a lot of kids do struggle with nowadays, right? So you want to be cautious about how much pressure you put into that and how much emphasis you put into it, because while it is important, Blaine, and it's huge and part of your schedule, I'll always take, you know, moving forward in my coaching career, the year we did the Robertson Cup, I'll never forget this. I was walking out of Blaine following our 4th game, and I think at that point we were 2-4, and I wasn't very happy. And Mark actually stopped me in the hallway.
Mhm.
He said, well, you know, what's up? And I explained my frustration. And he goes, the last time I checked, they don't win Robertson Cups in September. Keep your head up and do your thing. And it kind of worked out apropos, obviously. But for me, it's always something that's kind of now keep me grounded where, focus on the day and win the day, but don't let it get in the way of the big picture as well. So for me as a coach, I think it's important that my message is correct to the players. You don't want to under or overemphasize that Blaine experience and the opportunity there. You just want to make sure you take advantage of it.
Yeah. Craig, you're great with words. I'm ready to run through a wall now after all this. This has all been awesome. Always a pleasure talking to you, and we'll see you here in September.
Sounds good. If you have any eligibility left, let me know and we'll get you a first line spot at center.
Deal. I'm pretty nifty with the hands, but don't check me too hard. I'll break my insulin pump.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys. I appreciate your time.